Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Team Comp Tuesday, the series where every Tuesday we go over a different team, give some rough build advice, some rough template advice, and just talk about the team itself. This week we have Raiden's banner up, so we're doing another Raiden team. Last week was Hyper Carry, this week is National. I might do her best team, or what I think is her best team, the week after that, but I did kind of already do the team. It's the Hyper Bloom team, which is a couple weeks back at this point if you're interested in it. I'm not exactly sure. I don't think I'm going to remake it for next week, since it would literally be remaking the same video from like not even that long ago, but I don't know. Just really quickly, sadly I will not be doing Ayato videos. I kind of wanted to, but I don't have Ayato on my account, and I don't really have the primos to be able to roll for him and still get the other characters I want coming up, so sadly no Ayato. But if you're looking for suggestions for him, you can basically just any child video I have on the channel, you can just swap child with Ayato and it'll be about the same, if not even a little better depending on the team. But we're not here to talk about Ayato, we're here to talk about Raiden. And this is probably, I say the team most people know Raiden for. I personally, this is probably her team I use the least. Just because I do like Child, and especially now that I have Child, I use Child for the international team a lot more. But if you do not like Child, this is 100% like the best way to use the national team. And Raiden has a lot of really good synergy with a lot of the characters on the team, and does add a lot to the team. And also, this is just like her Hyper Bloom team. This is a team where her constellations don't matter really at all. They do help with damage, but since she's only something like 30% of the team's damage, even giving her a huge bonus isn't going to make that big of a difference. So this is definitely, if you're C0, this team can feel a little bit better than Hyper Carry, but Hyper Carry is definitely still playable at C0. I play Hyper Carry at C0 all the time, and it works just fine. But anyway, let's get into it. This is a very, very good team. As you probably saw in some of the showcases, I literally was killing stuff with just the setup. I wasn't even getting to Raiden's ult and stuff. So this team is quite insane. It relies basically to a degree on the fact that Raiden can just give energy to all these characters who are very energy hungry, as well as being a good on-field unit, since none of these other characters really need the field time. So you're allowed to just be on Raiden swinging. One slight thing I will mention about this team that can be a little annoying, it does cause overload, which knocks enemies away. So I definitely would be a little careful about using this versus smaller enemies. You definitely can still use it, and I have, but it definitely can be a little bit more annoying to use versus small staggerable enemies and just blowing them all over the place. Although sometimes you just kill them in that one hit, so it doesn't really matter. But anyway, let's get on with the video. Alright, now it's build time. Let's go over the characters, starting with Raiden, weapon, the catch. Other options include any sort of crit rate or crit damage weapon that you have on your account. The catch is free to play, so you can use that. Favorius Lance is actually also fine. Not a terrible option. Kind of underrated almost, to be completely honest with you. Perfectly fine, perfectly usable. Weapon for Raiden. The catch is generally where I like to be. The problem, though, of course, is that Xiangling wants it too. So maybe I'd consider, if you're completely free to play, I would maybe consider picking up a Black Cliff Spear for this team, for like Xiangling or somebody. But artifacts, 4-piece emblem is the way you want to go. Set's basically built for her. Crit rate or crit damage on the hat, electro damage or attack on Goblet, whichever one you have better substats for. Then either attack or energy recharge on Sands, generally the way I would recommend it is that if your weapon has energy recharge, go attack. If your weapon doesn't have energy recharge, go energy recharge. Talents, the only two that matter are her skill and her burst. This is due to her burst having the auto attack animation, or the auto attack scaling for its slashes built in, meaning you don't actually have to level the normal attack, unlike some other characters. And her E is good to level because it gives just more damage. And part of the reason she's so good for this team is due to her passive talents here, just giving a little bit of energy restoration to everybody as she slashes with her ultimate, and all the characters in this team being quite energy hungry, as well as the members of your team having high cost elemental bursts, making it easier to get stacks of her passive to make her slash do more damage for herself. Alright, next up here is Xiangling, the other main damage source for the team. And I still can't believe this unit, you get this unit for free, because she is chef's kiss. She's literally, the entire game is basically warped around using this character because she's that good that not using her is pretty bad. Like, even the most like speed Claire, hyper whales, there's still teams that use her, which is just absolutely insane. So weapon, very similar to Raiden. Any crit rate, crit damage weapon is good on her. The catch, also good on her. Favonius is also fine on her if you have it. Dragon's Bane is also an option as well. If you're having to debate between Xiangling and Raiden for the catch, I personally prefer to use the catch on Raiden, but that's just because I use Raiden for more teams and the catch is better for her. But, yeah. Also, because Xiangling can use Dragon's Bane, it's not that bad, whereas Raiden's next best option is like Favonius, which is... I say the difference between Raiden with Favonius is not as big as the difference between a Raiden with... Xiangling with Dragon's Bane. But, I don't know, maybe that's just me. For artifacts, same thing, same set as Raiden, Emblem of Severed Fate. This set is insane for any character who has a high cost burst, and a burst is the primary resource of their damage. Crit rate or crit damage on the circlet, pyro damage on the goblet. This is my best pyro goblet after 2 years. I'm not sad. Sag. Almost actually 2.5 at this point. Very Sag. And then either energy recharge or attack on sands. Same theory as Raiden. Non-energy recharge weapon, energy recharge sands. Energy recharge weapon, attack sands, or elemental mastery actually as well. Elemental mastery sands works as well, so between attack and elemental mastery, it's just whichever one you have better substats on. Talents, the only one that really matters is Pyronado. This is most of her damage. You can level up Guoba as well. He does do some damage. But the main thing here is Pyronado. Alright, and next up is good old Xingqiu. Great for the Hydra application and the single target damage. Oh, that's a side note about the team I forgot to mention. Excels on single target, okay at AoE, but very good single. Weapon of choice, Sacrificial Sword. If you don't have Sacrificial Sword, energy recharge swords are generally your way to go. Although with this team, he does get a lot of extra energy from Raiden. So you can actually opt for an attack sword. Something like Lion's Roar is actually quite good in this team on him if you have it. Or obviously any of the 5-star crit swords will be quite good. Due to him naturally acquiring less energy because of Raiden, I still prefer to be over energy and comfy, but you could easily slap a Lion's Roar on him and get actually quite a bit more damage out of him. So that's definitely something to consider if this is a team you play all the time, leveling up a weapon for Xingqiu to use in this team that's either like a crit rate or crit dam weapon, or even like a Lion's Roar. Artifacts, 4-piece emblem is actually where you want to be. I just have very good substats on Noblesse and Heart of the Depths from farming for other sets, so he's using that. Energy recharge or attack on sands. Again, you can go for either. I would personally, if you're gonna keep the sack sword, I definitely would swap him to an attack stance for this team if you want to, as it'll give you quite a bit more damage. But I would probably not swap both an energy recharge sands and an energy recharge weapon off unless you have very good energy recharge substats. Hydro, Goblet, and either crit rate or crit dam on the hat. Just talking briefly about energy. So normally you want like close to 200, 220 on Xingqiu. I generally go a little bit higher just for comfiness, but for Raiden you can probably be a lot closer to that like 180, so you can definitely sack either the weapon or the sands if you wish, or both if you have good subsets. For talents, level up both his E and his burst. His E, especially if you vape it, does a surprising amount of damage. Like, these are pretty high multipliers, especially when you vape something, so it's just chef's kiss. Oh, and also it does give you damage reduction, which is kind of like, this isn't a very underrated part of Xingqiu, and why Xingqiu tends to outperform even Yellen in some teams is because, yes, Yelan is often similar / more damage, but Xingqiu offers this damage reduction, which actually is pretty huge for characters like Raiden who don't want to be interrupted during their swings. It just means that, like, if you're sitting here with the damage reduction in a Bennett burst, the enemies have to be able to do, like, you know, triple your HP to actually kill you. So it's kind of an unappreciated bonus of Xingqiu, and why he generally tends to be a little bit better than Yelan and these kind of teams. On top of generally having a little bit better Hydro application, so I would recommend using Xingqiu over Yelan, but you could use Yelan in this team if you wanted to. Alright, and last but not least is Benny Boy, Best Boy. Carry all the units in the game. Any attack-based character is playable if Bennett exists. Weapons, Aquila Favonius or other high base attack weapon is your best shot. If you do not have a high base attack weapon, even something like a Skyward Blade would be great for Bennett because it has the energy recharge passive. Something with energy recharge passive, the new Sumeru Craftable is the way to go because it has the base attack, the high base attack of something like the Blacklift Sword, so it'll be around this 565 number. But it has an energy recharge substat and a slightly good passive. I don't have it because when I use Bennett, he's almost always on Aquila Favonius, and if he isn't on Aquila Favonius, he's generally on I'm generally not like trying to completely min-max my damage, so yeah. But anyway, I highly recommend that Sumeru Craftable Blade. Do as I say, not as I do. Noblesse, 100% the way to go on him. Just works perfect with his kit and what he wants to be doing. Definitely 100% energy recharge on the sands, as well as much energy recharge subsets as you can get. And then you have either the option of going for slight damage, like I prefer to go pyro damage, crit rate, or you can go HP. Up to you. Kind of whatever you get is what I would use. Talents, burst is the main one to use. I would level up. You can level up the E as well, especially because you will be using it to funnel Xiangling. Like I say this in every episode, but I probably will eventually level this up once as I slowly run out of characters I need to invest in again. About his ultimate, I generally wouldn't recommend crowning it. His burst is very good, but you don't actually get that much value out of crowning it. See, the attack bonus ratio goes up by like 7-ish%. You're generally better off crowning the skills you want the burst to boost the damage of versus crowning the burst. Because if you crown the burst, they'll give you something like, I don't know. For me, it's something like 60 or 80, and that's because I have him at 90 and I have a 5-star weapon. But it could be even lower for you, so would definitely recommend crowning other bursts before you crown his burst. Also, you don't have to take him to 90 of 90. I just did that for a little bit extra base attack. 80 of 90 is completely fine. But yeah, Bennett every character on this team can benefit from the Bennett buff. That's just chef's kiss. That's the good stuff. That's also in part why Xingqiu can be better than Yelan in this team, is because Xingqiu also benefits from the Bennett buff because he's attack instead of HP. But yeah. Alright, let's do a rough rotation rundown. It was pretty simple. You just want to make sure you have your Raiden up to keep stacking. Then you lead with Bennett Burst. You vaporize with Xingqiu. You can drop Goba, Pyronado, and then Raiden Burst. You get N3C. I believe it's 5 and then 1 N1C for max slashes. And then in downtime, you're just Eing on Bennett to refill Xiangling. You can drop Goba as well if you really want. And that's basically it. It's very, very simple. You're just basically cycling through and building back everybody else's bursts. Raiden will help fill up a lot of your people's bursts, so they won't even... The only person who will probably still need energy is Xiangling. Very, very simple. Very easy to pull off. And does an absolute ton of damage, as you can see. But yeah, that's the rough rotation. Alright, and that's going to be the end of this week's Team Comp Tuesday. I want to thank you for coming out. Yeah, this episode was on a team that is very much a known quantity, but, you know, this is probably the most popular team in the game, but it's still good to know about, and this team is a very good reason to pull Raiden, if you want her, especially if you don't like Child, this is probably your next best option, for a national team setup. So, definitely worth considering if you like her as a character. I really like her design. I like her gameplay. I'm personally not going to roll for C2. I was slightly debating it for a second, but I don't know. I think I'll get it eventually, maybe. But I think I'd rather save for units like Alhaitham and Deja, who are coming up soon. Who I want to make sure I can pick up as they come back around. This team in particular, you definitely do not need C2. And same thing with, like, you know, 2 or 3 good teams, C2 doesn't make even that big of a difference, and the only team it can make a substantial difference in is already kind of good enough that you don't need it. So don't feel pressured to roll for C2. Just get, you know, if you want C0 Raiden, don't feel like you have to go all the way to C2, you know? Get her at C0, or if you have C0, don't feel like you need to roll for C2 with these other great units coming out. Especially if you don't own a lot of the cast. If you own, like, the entire cast and you're like, maybe I want C2 Raiden instead of, I don't know, like, Ito and Eula or something, and that's who you're giving up, it's like, sure, go ahead. But, you know, don't give up. Like, you know, don't not roll for Ayato, but roll for C2 Raiden, you know, especially if you don't have second Hydra already, stuff like that. But anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for coming out. I wish you luck on your rolls, and I hope you have a great day.